In today's video, I want to take a look at the new The Last of Us Part 2 rumors that is suggesting that a release date is going to be announced rather soon, specifically revealed in the next State of Play. We'll take a look at that. Also, the next Need for Speed game has finally been announced. It's coming out later this year on November 8th. Now we have a name and we have some details on what to expect out of the game, and we know when we're gonna see the first gameplay footage. So we'll talk all about that. The next game in the Saints Row franchise is in development, so that's pretty interesting. We'll talk that at the end of this video. First up, let's get things started with the new rumors about The Last of Us Part 2 and the fact that a release date is rumored to be revealed at the next State of Play event. Thanks to a new leak via 4chan and NeoGAF, new details have come out about a potential State of Play stream arriving on November 1st, which is still a little ways away. However, it is suggesting it will include a release date announcement for The Last of Us Part 2. The leak mentions the latest State of Play will be longer than the previous two and will feature a Death Stranding launch trailer, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and Last of Us Part 2 information. The Last of Us Part 2 information probably being a release date. They really can't announce anything more than that. I mean, if we just see more gameplay of The Last of Us Part 2 without any release date, that would be an incredibly big disappointment. And as for Sucker Punch's Ghost of Tsushima, the post noted, it seems that the development of the game is proceeding in a more than favorable manner with Sucker Punch Studios. It has also encountered considerable delays at the same time, mainly due to greater work on the technical side of the software for textures and frame rates to favor in particular the technical upgrade that will be given by the new hardware features of the PlayStation 5. So it does look like Ghost of Tsushima will end up being a cross-generation title, or maybe entirely a PlayStation 5 game. I do think that would be a little bit of a disappointment because I know a lot of people that own a PlayStation 4 are very excited for Ghost of Tsushima, and you promoted that game as a PS4 game, so if you pulled the rug from underneath them and made that game PS5 only, that would be a little bit of a bummer, although I feel like the qualities of that game would definitely be accentuated with the PlayStation 5 hardware, so I would love for it to be a cross-generation title. But nonetheless, after the lackluster first State of Play, the second one was very good, where we got that Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer, and it looks like the third one is going to be even better with all of these games making their presence felt. Death Stranding, a launch trailer for that makes a lot of sense given that this State of Play is rumored to be held on November 1st, and Death Stranding will be coming out shortly thereafter. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order also coming out shortly thereafter. And I've been waiting to hear more on The Last of Us Part 2 for quite a while. Namely, I'm waiting on a release date. We've seen enough gameplay out of The Last of Us Part 2. I'm not really eager to know more gameplay details. I'm just eager to know when I'm actually going to be able to play the game, because I was sure that the game was going to be released in 2019. I thought it was going to end up being Sony's big PlayStation 4 game for this year, but they kind of shifted things, and Death Stranding is going to end up being that game for the fall season anyway. And The Last of Us Part 2 is going to come out sometime later on. There was a rumor circulating that the game would be arriving February 2020, so I think that release window makes a lot of sense given that it would happen right around the time of the PlayStation meeting, so why not release The Last of Us Part 2 and parlay that directly into revealing the PlayStation 5, whatever the case may be. I think that would be a really good way to go. But that's just my 2 cents. I do also expect that The Last of Us Part 2 will be a game that'll end up on the PlayStation 5 as well, with better visuals and all that good stuff, just because it's being released so late into the PlayStation 4's life, and we saw with the games that were released late into the PlayStation 3's life, they eventually saw a release on the PlayStation 4 as well. Might I name a game called The Last of Us 1 to you guys? That game, of course, saw a release on the PlayStation 4 with The Last of Us Remastered, and it was a great PS4 version, so to see something like that with The Last of Us Part 2, if they plan on releasing DLC or anything like that, bundle that in, release it on the PS5 with 4K visuals, higher frame rates, whatever the case may be on that, and I think that would do rather well. But let's hope that that February release window does stick for The Last of Us Part 2, because that is probably the PS4 game that I am most eager to play, even more so than Death Stranding and Ghost of Tsushima, just given the high quality of The Last of Us Part 1 and all of Naughty Dog's excellent games they've put out in the past. Alright, moving on from that, we've known for quite a while that EA would be bringing out a new Need for Speed title this year, and it was kind of getting pretty close given the fact that we're already headed into the holiday season and the game wasn't announced yet, but now we have the official confirmation of Need for Speed Heat. Publisher Electronic Arts and developer Ghost Games have announced Need for Speed Heat, the ultimate street racer versus cop fantasy. It'll be coming to PlayStation 4 on November 8th, and it will be available through EA Access, and Origin Access basic members can play for up to 10 hours. They'll be able to play the game early on November 5th as a part of the Play First trial, so that's pretty good. As far as the description, here's what it says. Need for Speed Heat sends fans to Palm City, a brand new open world where street racers have gathered to make their names known. By day, players compete in the Speed Hunter Showdown, a sanctioned competition where they earn bank to customize and upgrade their garage of high-performance cars. At night, players risk it all to build their rep in underground races where a rogue police task force roams the streets ready to take racers down and swipe all their earnings. The roads, the risks, and the rides never end in the Street Racer, where a player can roll deep with their crew, build their garage full of hot cars, and make the city their non-stop playground. It was also confirmed that EA will premiere the first gameplay footage for Need for Speed Heat at Gamescom 2019 opening night live. That happens August 19th at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern, and that will be hosted by Jeff Keighley. Now, I know right away in this day and age when you hear the announcement of a new Need for Speed game, you probably aren't all too excited given the recent games haven't been anything to write home about. I thought Need for Speed Rivals was really good, but bear in mind that that was a launch PlayStation 4 game. Since then, we've had the release of 2 Need for Speed titles, Need for Speed Payback and Need for Speed 2015, and those games left a lot to be desired. However, based on the description for Need for Speed Heat, where it's this open world where it's racer versus cop, I think the game can turn out pretty well. It'll be releasing relatively soon. It's due out on November 8th, and I believe that's the same day as Death Stranding, so that is shaping up to be a pretty big day for game releases. We'll see how it turns out. Again, the first gameplay will be dropping on the Gamescom 2019 opening night live on August 19th. Alright, and lastly, I do want to note that Volition confirmed that they are deep in development of a brand new Saints Row game. This looks to be the first full entry in the series since Saints Row 4 all the way back in 2013. In their latest financial report from THQ Nordic, it was announced that Volition is deep in development of a brand new Saints Row game. However, nothing else was clarified in terms of when we could see this game. Although, if they're deep in development, I could very well see this being a game that is revealed at Gamescom and then maybe released shortly thereafter. Could this be another game that comes out in the fall? Hey, I wouldn't really expect that given that it's pretty late to be announcing games right now and then scheduling them for a fall release. But honestly, looking at the fall release window, while there are a lot of compelling games coming out, it's not like it's absolutely packed with gigantic game after gigantic game. Yes, there are big games being released, but you don't have a major Assassin's Creed title, which is a void that is clearly there. Watch Dogs Legion isn't coming out this fall either. You don't have a lot of big open world games this fall. Yes, you've got a game like Borderlands 3, but that's earlier on in the fall. I think Saints Row could actually make a relatively big impact if it was released this fall. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but THQ Nordic did say that this is the first full entry in the much-loved series since Saints Row 4 was released all the way back in 2013. Of course, with Saints Row 4, we did get some DLC, we did get the game ported on over to other platforms, and I thought Saints Row 4 was a pretty good game. After that, of course, we did see the release of Agents of Mayhem, which was done by Volition. However, Agents of Mayhem wasn't received all too well. In the case of Saints Row, I always find the games rather enjoyable. Obviously, it's not like these games offer a compelling narrative to get into. These games are not about that. These games are about offering a fun open world to get into, blast a lot of stuff, have a lot of zany gameplay, and have a ton of fun along the way. It's a game that you can really just let loose and do whatever the hell you want. And another Saints Row game, whether it be a PlayStation 4 game, it could transition into a PS5 game, whatever the case may be. I think even if it is released as a PS4 game, it will end up being released on the PS5, and with backwards compatibility being confirmed, it's really not that big of a deal if we don't see games remastered or whatever. But nonetheless, a brand new Saints Row game is in development by Volition, published by THQ Nordic, so I think that's pretty exciting. So that's gonna conclude this video. Again, a lot of news coming out. It looks like The Last of Us Part 2's release will be confirmed rather soon. I mean, still a couple months away, but a state of play seems to be tentatively scheduled for November 1st, and it will be focusing on announcing The Last of Us Part 2 release date, Death Stranding's launch trailer, and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. At this point, take it with a grain of salt, but I do imagine that we're gonna be hearing the release date for The Last of Us Part 2 very, very soon. Need for Speed Heat has been officially announced. I know Need for Speed is not a franchise that all of you guys are super into at this point, given the lackluster recent releases. However, I think based on the description of this game, Ghost Games have done good NFS titles in the past. I'm not completely sold on this one, but given that we do have EA access on PS4 now, you can get early access into the game and play up to 10 hours if you sign up for $5 a month or $30 a year. And remember, that gives you access to all of the Vault EA games, play first trials for a lot of their upcoming titles, so that is pretty good. And Volition is deep in development of a brand new Saints Row game. I know Saints Row isn't the biggest franchise at this point, but I think there's definitely room for a new Saints Row title, and I think if it was released this fall, it would do pretty well, given that we don't have a ton of major open world games dropping this fall. We don't have a game like Red Dead Redemption 2 like we did last year. That's gonna conclude this video. Do sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.